meeting called to order and get started. With Joe being absent, we need to appoint a president pro tem, and per policy again, it's senior board member. So Tom Kinsler, would you like to assume that role tonight?
Yeah, but we still need a motion, right?
I'll make a motion to.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Okay. So we need a motion.
Temporary president pro tem.
I'll
I guess
second.
till Joe gets here, right?
Yeah, and then we turn it over.
Second.
You need a
Roll call?
Mr. Easterwood?
Yes.
Mr. Kinzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey? Yes. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Conrad?
So we'll call this meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance first, right?
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Easterwood?
Here.
Mr. Natalie? Mr. Kinzer?
Here.
Mrs. Maxey? Here. Mr. Conrad? Here. Mr. Conrad?
Here. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes or motion to?
The motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kinzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey? Yes. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Conrad?
Yes.
Mr. Easterwood?
Yes.
Audience to visitors. Cards, nothing? Okay. Moving on to that, we have the treasurer's report.
We had a signed version that got uploaded late to your packets today, but it is signed by Treasurer Marcos.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Superintendent's report.
First thing on the report is I want to thank the Harvard Moose Club. They are donating 2 portable bleacher sections to us, to the district, that they no longer need. Both are in very, very good shape, and we really appreciate their generosity. Facility updates. Our big projects, Poplar Grove bathrooms moving right along. They're putting the tile in this week, and we'll be getting ready to do some painting fixtures and finish up the details there. Our Capron roof has been pushed back twice. But we did get notification today that they are delivering materials tomorrow, and we'll be starting on those Thursday. We need to keep those moving because I want that roof done before kids and staff are in the school. So, but they should be beginning that Thursday. And got a chance to visit all buildings. Saw Bill out there today. Most of our buildings are in really good shape. Our cleaning crews are moving right along. Most of our all of our schools have their classrooms done. Really, they're down to just the floors of the hallways, gyms and cafeterias, whatever order they're kind of working with too. You'll also notice we've had a lot of sealing and repairing of concrete and asphalt around the district. We also had our bus parking lot graded this week, so that's all set to go too. So a lot of good things moving. We've got a lot of things set, ready to go, and we just need that roof to keep progressing along. So for committees, I do need to set dates. Mary, we need to set one for policy. We've got policy. Administrators begin back August 1st. Facilities will need to set something this fall to follow up more with the solar energy side of things. And the other thing that we need to do, and I'll talk more about it when we get to it, is we need to set a special meeting to seat our new board member and take oaths. So those are the big things that are coming up. The last question I have for you, and it's a kind of a personal favor, our August board meeting is set for August 21st. I have a daughter that I need to take to school that week and for parent orientation, and of course it falls right on the 21st, and I won't be in the area. I wanted to know if it was possible to move it up to the 14th That would still make sure that we've got the budget on display for 30 days or more. And then if we had extra sections or something we needed to approve, we would be able to approve it before the school year started for classrooms. If you can't do it, because summer schedules are so busy, I get it. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work and on the 21st. But I don't know if the 14th looks. How does the 14th look to you guys? Are you open to the idea?
I can do it 14.
You're okay, Brian? Tom?
I'm good, but you want to hold
Mary?
this till the end? When we talk with,
I'm gonna be in Davenport the 14th and 15th.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mary.
Mary, I know you're out of town
Yeah,
too.
I'm in Dallas, or somewhere in
Yeah.
Dallas.
Somewhere.
Okay.
I'm good. So we probably see if Joe's good.
All right. That's, but missing two, that starts to worry me a little bit. Okay. All right. That's all I had for superintendent's report.
what days were you
Is,
on at?
is the only way that we can seat a new board member with a special meeting, couldn't we schedule a regular meeting?
By policy, it has to be done at an official board meeting, seating, and within 45 days.
We could piggyback it with the regular meeting.
Could do that too.
Do it first.
Our 45 days is August 12th. If we wanted to move it up a week to August 7th, and that puts us in the 40, yeah,
During Boone County Fair.
yeah, never mind. That's hard. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I was looking at other calendars and all the other conflicts that were going on. Yeah, that's the Boone County Fair.
Can we do it the 16th?
We have to have it done.
Yeah, the seating has to be done by August 12th, which is a Sunday. We do have a candidate, and I put the candidate's
First, second, or third
application.
of August.
Say that again.
First, second, or third of August.
Works for me, if it does for everybody else.
Should be
The
Ed,
first,
Are you saying those dates just for the special meeting or to move our regular board meeting up to that?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be gone no matter what meeting we try and schedule on those days, so, I mean, it doesn't mean that, you know, you guys can still meet, I just won't be around.
not knowing what the next several days bring, but really the biggest thing on that August board meeting is the budget, just making sure that the budget's presented and displayed. So I'm not anticipating much other huge business that comes before. A lot of our personnel is set too.
I think we should just do a special meeting on the first, second, or third. It'd take us about, what, 20 minutes or two?
To do the seating and
To
then
do the seating.
oaths and,
Yeah, and then either figure out the 14th or the 24th for the regular meeting.
yeah, I'm good with that. Does somebody want to throw a date out there for first, second, or third? First, we have registration.
How about the second?
Yeah, second.
Let's not do a Friday night.
Friday, yeah. Second good for
This will
everybody?
be my first free Friday night in like 10 weeks.
Do you want to do the 31st? A Tuesday? Does Tuesdays work better for people?
August 31st or July 31st?
July 31st for the special meeting.
That's fine too.
I can do that.
31st then? Yeah, because that one really should be a short meeting.
A week from today.
Yep.
6:30?
Sure. 6:30 work, or do you want to move it up a little bit? Whatever you're.
But I guess before we set this date, do we want to check with Joe?
Joe.
Since he's going to be here at the end of this.
Yeah,
Can we set it
Joe
at the
might
end?
not be able to do that Tuesday. I don't know how long this class lasts.
All right. So let's do this. When we get to that portion, let's see if Joe's here for that portion with the special, with the seating of the board member, and we'll see if we can get the date set. Or if we need to, we do it at the very end. And as far as like the regular meeting, it sounds like I'll try to just leave it where it's at because I've got some conflicts with a couple board members already, so.
Does the day before work on Monday?
What's that?
Does the 13th help you out?
Yeah, that might actually. Let's informally set dates at the end then, huh? And then I'll make sure whatever we need to communicate gets passed along.
I mean, I'll still be out of town, but I told Mike too, I mean, if there was something that you needed me for, I'll be available by phone. I'm
Okay.
not- Just gonna be getting ready.
What were the dates for the budget? When did it have to be done by?
It has to be done by the end of September, so we have to approve it at our September meeting, and it has to be on display 30 days before that, so, and if our September meeting, like our August meeting was set for the 21st, our September meeting was set for the 25th, so we had it on display for 30, to make sure we're in compliance. So to move it backwards puts us a little, it puts us too tight. Thank you, guys.
Oh, I did have a question on the hopper, the capering roof.
Yes,
What's the, if it starts tomorrow, when's it supposed to be wrapped up?
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we're starting to push that time
Right
limit.
next close.
Yeah, we're cutting it too close.
Hopefully it stops raining.
Yeah.
Then we're down to committee reports. Policy.
We have not met, but we will be setting a meeting. You want to do that?
You
now?
want to set it now, or?
We can set it now, Mary, otherwise my other thought was is if you wanted to set the policy meeting the night we do our August board meeting, when people are kind of back, and then a little easier for people to attend. We could do that. We could do.
Depends on if we leave it on the 21st or
Oh,
not.
that's right. You're right. How about I work with you? Once we set the other dates, we'll figure out where to hit the policy meeting.
Yeah,
that work?
Once we get all these other meeting dates set, we'll slip
What
policy.
my thought was is if we can
would
make it
even
work.
do it before,
Exactly. Yep. And make it one trip
just
for.
so that it's one meeting night instead of more than.
Perfect. Yeah, that was my thought too.
I am willing to be flexible.
Yep. Sounds good.
Business services.
Business services met. We had a rough draft of the budget presented. That we'll get into a little bit more detail with the group tonight. Talked about some options for some potential bus purchases to get them caught up. Talked about sub rates for support staff. That will be up for an action item later on in the meeting. We don't have a next meeting scheduled.
Facilities.
We haven't met, we'll probably meet late in August, so.
We've got to follow up on the solar energy, and so we'll get some of that rolling, Tom.
Yeah, we're gonna need to probably run that by an architect about our roof loads, what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think anyone's addressed that, we just talked about, put a bunch of stuff on the roof. And address the weight of the panels on the building, so. I'd say that's on hold.
And roof repairs and whatever else, yeah.
Not just that, just adding weight to an existing roof, we just can't go throwing stuff up there. Get approval from someone.
Especially on the ones.
And there's a university that just can't spend an extra $1 million because they got a new project. They thought they were gonna do that.
Curriculum.
We did not meet.
Haven't met, no. And probably meet once everybody gets back in the fall.
Okay. Next item is consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Maxey?
Yes.
Mr. Mulholland?
Yes.
Mr. Hazelworth?
Abstain.
Ms. Beardsley?
Yes. down to item 9, unfinished business, substitute rates.
At our business committee meeting, we took a look at our current sub rates, compared them to other districts, as well as discussed what our fill rates are. I know the committee felt it was needed to raise the teacher assistance rate, so we are recommending that we raise the rate from 10 to 11. The lowest step on our teacher's assistant scale is 1162, so that still falls under that, and that is with IMRF. I also would not be opposed to raising our sub-custodian rates as well, although we haven't had a problem with filling that as much as we have our teacher's assistants. We haven't given them a raise in a while, and I think it's fair that we look at possibly bumping them up too if the board is open to that idea.
So what would the rate look like for them if
Right now, let's see, custodian, we are at 1126. If we gave a 50-cent raise there, it'd be 1176. Lowest step there for an assistant custodian is 1226, so you're still about 50 cents lower than what IMRF is, with IMRF for the rate of assistant custodian on our NVEST contract. And by bumping the TAs, we're about 62 cents under what the lowest step is there, to 11.
So I'd move that we then approve these substitute rates as presented for both TAs and for the custodians.
Of what I just recommended to? Okay. Yeah. And I think on your sheet, the custodian hour is 1126, so that would be a change. We would move that to 1176, just so everybody's clear with what I recommended there.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the substitute pay scales as amended. Is there any more discussion on it? None? Roll call, please.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Longwell?
Yes.
Mr. Hazelworth?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey?
Yes.
New business, July 2018 bills. It was my month
Yep.
to review them, looked over everything, looked fine to me.
I was gonna be ready.
Tell you fine it to me. I suppose, if I make the motion on that, then
I think you can do that.
So I would make a motion to approve the July 2018 bills as presented.
Second.
Any additional discussion on those? Roll call, please.
Mr. Longwell?
Yes.
Mr. Hazelworth?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
How's it going, Joe?
Joe?
Tom's got your
Good
seat
time,
warmed up
yeah.
for you.
You made really good time. Yeah, you get it.
Haven't prepped.
We'll help you.
Okay.
And actually, perfect timing.
Sorry for being late, folks.
No, you're good.
Where are we at?
So we're at board member vacancy. It's information only. There's not a vote here.
right.
We're going to try to set a date, though, so we can seat our candidate.
Okay.
Okay?
Do-
I can-
Is Mary presenting on that? Do
Okay.
we have any, you are? Okay.
Yep. As everyone knows, Matt Ellingson resigned as our board member on June 26th. We have 45 days to fill that seat, which would be 45 days out would be August 12th. We do have a candidate. I put the candidate's letter of intent as well as a resume in your folder, so if you'd like to review that. So we do have a candidate for it. It's in your folder. 45-day deadline, and like I said, it's August 12th. That is a Sunday, but the board would need to call a special meeting to approve a new member and have them take the oath. By policy, our vice president becomes our president, and then the board would need to have an election to fill the vice presidency seat. So that's what we would need to do that night. You do have the ability to interview the candidate in a closed session previous before you want to announce. The big thing that we need to do is just set the date then for a special meeting and seating the new board member.
Do we want to discuss dates?
Yeah, we kind of partially started. We wanted to wait till you got here to see what your dates were available too.
So, one of the things I was wondering on that is we're setting dates. There was a deadline date for candidates to show interest by July 20th, right? Is there a reason, especially with just one candidate, that we couldn't maybe extend that to some date? Can you tell me how many days before before that special board meeting to allow other people a chance to?
I don't know that there was complete wording or clarification on that. The 20th date I picked because I just thought it was a Friday, an easy cut before we walked into the board meeting. That was just a random date I picked, no legal reason behind it.
Okay.
So I think then that would be a board's decision if they want to accept candidates beyond that.
Does anybody want to?
I think if we can get a couple candidates, there'd be to choose from if people are willing. I mean,
Would this be something we would need a motion to?
I don't think so. I think as long as you're all on the same page with that. I think,
And if there's anybody else that is interested, I'm sure Rudy's the only one that contacted me
Mhm.
with any interest.
Is it,
would the board, on the night we have the meeting, would they like me to hold a closed session first so that you would have a chance to talk to them or interview with them in closed first?
I can see the value in that if there was more than one candidate. If we're still just with one candidate,
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hate that term. but
No, I don't mean it that way, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, there's your candidate.
There's no point in it.
Yeah, okay. So, and I would be more than happy to extend an offer just for information regarding like our board expectations, our board goals, our board, kind of similar to what I did with new incoming candidates before, if the board would like me to do that.
Whatever you send to Brian.
Do it similarly? Okay. And I will reach out and give them a chance at least offered to them so that they know what board expectations are, our goals, and our guidelines are.
am I correct in August 28th is our next meeting? That seems awfully late.
August 21st.
First. I'm sorry.
No, you're
I've been
okay.
able to get Google Calendar to recognize what
And then-
Tuesday it is.
So we have to set a special meeting, and then I threw a monkey wrench in things too, because I am supposed to take a daughter to college August 21st. So I proposed moving the meeting up a week early for the regular August meeting. But why don't we stick first to, let's set the board candidate, or the board seating date meeting. Yeah, let's set that, the special meeting first.
So just to be clear on that, if we were to open up and take candidates and we get to that date, are we going to interview and swear them in the same night? Or would we have another board meeting prior to that interview?
Again, that's the board's choice. My intention was, my assumption is that you guys would probably be doing the interviews and then the seating that night, but
Okay.
not leaving much time
yeah, we're
for another
tight
meeting.
window for the 45s,
Okay.
For the August 12th deadline.
for the August 12th deadline, yes. So my assumption was,
Go ahead and do the agenda and put an executive in there, and we can choose to not go into executive, right?
Mhm.
Or we can go in and come right back out.
You can do it that way. If you don't have it in there, you
If we
couldn't
don't
go
have it in
in.
there, we can't go, we don't have the option to go into executive, so if he writes the agenda with an executive, we could, whatever, go in and just come right back out.
the August 12th, the deadline, what would we,
I was proposing August 7th to just stick with our Tuesdays for typical board meeting type nights. So I put August 7th out there, but again, that's checking the availability of my board members' calendars, so. And we were waiting to see with you to make sure it didn't conflict with a class or
I
anything like that.
thought that was
too.
Fair Week.
That's Fair Week.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. We were
Never
talking
mind.
about the first, second,
Still
or
didn't
third.
sink in. Propose, do we want to go up to the
think the
31st, right?
31st, I think it
That's what
is.
we talked about.
Or like first, second, third, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
And we weren't sure when your class was over, John. We could do a different night if you're still. teaching.
Any one of those three I can make work. 31st, 1st, or 2nd. That's next week.
yes. That is finals week for me, so I would be done with class early enough to be here on time on that night. So I could be here at 6:30.
The 31st.
The 31st.
I can do the 31st or the 2nd, either one.
Um, If we went to the 2nd, I'm definitely available on the 2nd. That would be a better night for me, but I can still do it on the 31st. Does anybody else have any desires or conflicts?
I can do either of the seconds.
I actually, I got something on the 31st, so the 2nd would be better for me.
Second.
At 6:30 again?
Second's better?
Yeah, I'm good with any of those.
Okay. Tom, Boone, you okay? Good. 6:30? Keep it similar, if you guys are okay?
And the only thing on the agenda that night will be the
Just seating of the board member and oaths.
voting in a new member as well as
Yeah.
electing a vice president.
Yeah, and I'll get all the detail together for what we need to do and work with you on that before we walk into that meeting, if that's okay.
Good. August
Nothing
2nd at
else.
6:30 PM. Everybody's got that?
Yep.
Set? To seat a new board member and elect a vice president.
Mhm.
That moves us on to a discussion item number C, letter C, under new business and audit.
On June 20th, Dennis Hildebrand from Seapert told us he would no longer be performing the financial audit for North Boone. It's not a North Boone thing. He was doing that for several schools, so it's just their change. And so we have gone out and we have looked at 3 other auditing firms, and we have brought forward a recommendation for you tonight to go with Gorins and Associates. We also looked at the Benning Group and the Newkirk and Associates. Gorins, we know, comes highly recommended from other school districts around the area that have used it. So that's why we're bringing Gorins forward. Because we're kind of joining with them late, we would have to file an extension. Our anticipated cost would be $18,000 with them, which is very similar to the other ones, very similar to what Newkirk was, $18,000. And I want to say, do you remember what Seapert was last year? We were around the same thing. So the cost is relatively similar to where we were anyways. Except for the 1 year where we were really bad. It was straightened out last year. So our recommendation is to go with Gorins and Associates.
Would there be any issues with the ROE accepting our extension request?
Not that I see, no. And I could make sure that Lori and Scott Bloomquist down there know ahead of time what we're doing and why. So. I think the last time we got told no more extensions, we were in February.
We had asked for.
We had asked for several extensions, but that shouldn't be the case this time.
And if Secret's not doing these audits at all anymore, we can't be the only school district that's gonna be in this situation either.
I would anticipate that's,
They're gonna be getting several
Yeah.
of those requests.
but I'd be more than happy to let Lori and Scott know the reason why and what we did.
At least this is better.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion and a second so we can
I'll
move
make a
on to discussion?
motion to approve Lawrence Associates Limited as Mark Woods Financial Auditor.
Mary, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any further discussion? Roll call, please, Kelly.
Mr. Hazelton?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Kinzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Monahan?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Brings us to letter D, tentative budget.
Yeah, not a voting item tonight, more informational for the board. At the business committee meeting, we shared the tentative budget for the upcoming school year. We went into great detail, had good conversation about it. Melissa's brought back some more information of what was requested from that night, so she'll share a little bit of that. I'll turn it over to Melissa, and then Ed, if there's anything you wanted to add, please feel free to.
So the budget that's here, this is what was presented at the business committee meeting. No changes have been made yet. There was some discussion about the levy amounts and maybe allocating levy amounts to different. We're getting more information pretty much by the day on upcoming levy and what that may look like for us next year. So I haven't changed any of the revenue or expenditures on here. I just left it the same, but there will be maybe some minor changes before the August board meeting, which I'll review with you guys at that time. The big question that came out of the meeting was the discrepancy in how much we're spending per school on students. With the new reporting formula that's coming out on our school report cards, we're going to have to give how much we're spending per school. So it's not just grades and all the academics now, it's going to be the funding and the financial part of it as well. And so this was the original slide that I had provided with about what's budgeted for each school. And we've noticed that the upper elementary was significantly less per student and just overall than the other schools. I had made some general assumptions up here about some of the programming, like at the high school, it's more specialized technology and career. Middle school has got the guidance as well as the athletics. Upper shares majority of their services, library, speech, social work, with the middle school in Manchester. So their staffing is shared between buildings. Poplar Grove has specialized special needs programs. Cape Brent has the preschool, and Manchester is sharing services with Upper L2. So those were just some of the basics. On the next slide, I kind of dug in a little bit more with staffing patterns at these schools. As you can see, our high school has the largest number of staffing for regular ed, followed by Poplar Grove, and then upper and middle is the same, and then Cape Brent and Manchester. And this is just more general information to kind of get a picture of the whole why funding may be different. Certified special ed staff is kind of follows the same trend but Poplar Grove is the highest than the high school. Upper middle is the same. When you're looking at the funding too, upper is 2 grades where Poplar Grove and some of the other ones are 4. So there can be some discrepancy there as well. Related service, you can see the upper middle is kind of the same as well. Any questions on the staffing in those buildings? And staffing salaries play a big part. So if you have a veteran staff, those salaries in that school may be more elevated than if you have a newer staff. So some of that stuff is kind of varying depending on who's at what building. And then the next slide, I went into kind of where things are budgeted. You can kind of see where Poplar Grove has a big piece of that in special ed. One of the things I kind of found was all of our costs for cafeteria and food service right now is slated towards the middle school because that's what's housed. So when I make some budget adjustments before the August one, I will move some of that and split it between the two because they are sharing those services. Another thing that was different was upper middles. Paraprofessional staff are written into a grant, and so they're not shown in the actual budget. So there's some things that are there that just were not, they're kind of in different spots there. So
Is that the Title I
yeah,
grant?
or a special ed grant.
Special ed grant,
Yeah.
okay.
So those were some of like the big takeaways. Athletics is another piece of it, and then just the regular ed salaries kind of played another role in some of that discrepancy for students. So, any questions on that? And I will get more information and clean some of that, get it more evenly spread where it should be before the next.
Just I think what I heard at the business meeting, and was more like the cost per student.
Mhm.
I think what you have, I still think it would need to be pointed out what we're spending per student.
And I don't know, when if you combine the middle and upper together in cost per student, it's about 5,700, which is still a couple thousand less than high school public road. I know along the way, we've always staffed and serviced schools based on student need. So I can definitely dig into that per cost per kid piece of it, and see why there's a difference, before that. And some of it could just be a younger staff, or, you know, I mean, there's just a lot of different variables, but I will dig into that more, per building. But, are you looking for regular ed versus special ed? Are you looking for total students?
I guess going back to what I thought I heard at the meeting was that if a person is looking at this report card, an easy calculation to do
Right.
is to divide it out per student. And I tend to look at it, you know, if you're looking in groups of 4, you know, there's 4 years here and 4 years here and 4 years here. Eventually, those kids are kind of moving up, so you would expect to see the same being spent. One of the things I would look at then is if we're throwing all of our, if the result of this is that we're throwing all of our new teachers into upper elementary, that could be, or our inexperienced, that could be a reason for that discrepancy. And so looking at salaries or explaining it like that could work against you, or,
So like what you do is take the total enrollment, take the cost of what the building is, and just kind of divide that.
to me, that would be a,
It's a simple way of
it's a
looking at
simple,
the
if
cost
you're
per
a
student. Yeah.
person looking at it and,
Which is kind of done with what the state report card is right now, on your total costs and, you know, what does it cost to educate kids in your district?
Then you have to kind of go and dig deeper on, the upper doesn't have counseling services per se, like they share a counselor with the middle school. They don't have the athletics that the middle school has. And so there are differences per student, and I
So-
understand where you're coming from.
So do we start breaking that out in the budget where we do 50-50? If we're sharing services, we put 50% of the cost with middle, 50% cost with the upper. And then the other thing when you shared with me is that here there's portions where we just write certain staff members into grants, pull those out, and then those come from grant money, because we know that those are fixed things too. So I think since that meeting, we kind of pulled that, gosh, our budgets aren't as clean as what they are. We pull different things just based on history of what we've done out of different areas and different monies and different sources.
I guess when I look at something like that, if I look at the middle school where they're running on the high part of the average, and I take and look at the difference that we're spending per student, and it works out to be like $270,000 is extra money that they maybe get over what another school gets based on that extra times the number of students. Then it's easy for me to take that and say, well, that could be special ed, or it could be the athletics. I can come up to 270,000 without much
Right,
effort.
Right.
When I start looking at the cost and how much it deviates, I have a harder time understanding it when upper elementary is down here saying, if they had, it just, the number, that's how I would look at it. That's how I would guess a parent would maybe look at it. The bigger risk, and we're more in line, is if I had a student at 1K4 compared to another,
other.
because that's an apples to apples maybe comparison, and those seem to be pretty even, but that's how I would look at it.
No, and I can
would-
definitely get more information and tease that out, for you guys, so that when we get to next October, we're ready with what exactly is going on.
Okay.
I think it comes down to two, do we feel like upper is lacking something? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like our services across the districts, like the schools kind of have what they need, or we're servicing students to what the needs are. That's kind of one of the philosophies we've always tried to do, is what are the needs of those buildings? And so just looking at it from that aspect too of, I know there's maybe a significant, but maybe the needs are different in that building as well, so.
I think what it does is make you take a look
Right.
in a completely different lens, building per building, than what we used to look at it as a district lens more than from the budget side. It does. And when I start to hear that we're pulling this person from this grant and this person from this grant, well, that's the cost that's not showing up. And when we pull lunches all from middle school, do we need to start budgeting different or representing that different so that we're showing the true costs of what that is? Because, we're sharing the lunch program, but there's still costs that's got to be associated over to the upper.
That we should be dividing that students and charging each school their portion.
Of it.
Same with these shared services, there's no reason that can't be mathematically
Divided up.
and put on the right building.
But for years, we've always just kind of tagged it under one, and that's almost basically understanding what budget code we've put it under to know where it is before or how we've previously done it. So this, like I said, it shifts the district lens to a building lens.
Okay. What Tom was talking about, to expand on it a little bit, the other part of that conversation is that Poplar Grove has 3 sections of everything, where Manchester's running splits. So, I mean, you would think that Poplar Grove would be dominating the landscape academically with 3 sections to split kids with, and that we haven't really gotten our bang for the buck. We're overspending by $1 million in that school. Look at the difference between what Poplar Grove has and what Manchester has. You're talking about 125 different kids, but there's $1.1 million more money spent at Poplar Grove versus Manchester. So yeah, I am interested in seeing what the numbers are per student. I'm trying to get to
Balance that out a little better.
I do think on the surface, looks like some of these schools are getting shortchanged.
And to add on to that, I would actually like to see another slide just like this that shows us what the utilities are costing us per student.
Utilities, what? Can you examine that?
Heat, electricity,
Okay. By school or student?
well, by school, and then that would be divided out by student. You realize that we have our smallest building is probably one of our most expensive.
We can talk about how to do that in a easy to capture way, I guess. 'Cause yeah.
So for August, I will have, any changes that need to be made to the budget, I will have more information on the per student. At the August meeting, we will put the budget, the draft budget up for display, and then we'll vote on it in September. So if anything between now and the August meeting you think, oh, I'd like to see more on this, just let me know. I'm happy to pull that information together.
Before we leave it, does anybody have anything more direct or specific to let Melissa work on? Is that the only homework per se? Okay.
Thank you.
Melissa, thank you for all your effort.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Ends item D and moves us to technology purchases, letter E.
Yes, we are recommending to use the 2017-18 Title I funds, which we still have available, to purchase 60 student Chromebooks, which would go towards the upper elementary. We're looking to get touchscreen Chromebooks at a classroom set for each of the K-4 buildings, new laptops and docking stations for some of our older 8-year-old desktops and things that we have around the district for staff, and this recommendation came from IT Savvy, Insight, SHI, is that right? And Compugen. Jerry put out bids to all these people. This basically is an effort to keep us growing devices, especially at our K through 6 levels, with classroom sets, and then refreshing or replenishing, replacing some of our really old devices that are sitting on our desktops for staffs.
there any questions on this?
I'll be honest, when this got presented at business, I thought we were just replacing some outdated devices. I didn't realize that growing devices was part of the purchase.
No, it definitely growing. And I said at the business meeting too, one of the things that, since we've adopted the science and the math series, and whatever feedback you hear from the teachers is too, is the, what do you want to call it, the nuances that come with these series. Technology devices for kids are important, whether it's for classroom activities or even for strategies for struggling students. The devices are going to be needed, and one of the teachers said to me, they said, if we're not going to grow devices at some of our levels, these series are not going to be, we're not going to be able to maximize these series. So growing devices at our elementary levels. I know I think there's 6 computer stations at each of the classrooms in both Manchester and Capron. They just kind of make it for small group work. That's what they have available, and I think some of them are really old computers as well. And Poplar Grove doesn't do it as 6 breakout sessions. They have it as set up as like a cart of 30. So we're trying to grow devices at both the upper, and we're trying to grow devices at the K4 levels too.
Growing student devices and then replacing staff devices.
Compilation of all of those, okay. Just as a question about protocol, is there a reason why all the prices and things, are they typically not shared? They ended up in our,
We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Our vendors that give it to us don't want us to publish those. We are going to check with the legal, because it's talked about in an open session. We're going to check to see if that's legal, because we think maybe under FOIA that they may need to be published. So we're going to check with our attorney to see. But a lot of our vendors are giving us pressure not to publish the individual bids. So we shared them with you, those. I'll check with Scott, and if they need to be published, they'll be published, whatever law says on it.
does that perhaps mean that we shouldn't be voting on an expenditure unless it's been published to the public first? I'm just wondering, I understand the vendor's rationale, but I also don't want to break any rules about keeping information private that shouldn't be kept private.
And I have
And I
no
don't know
Done
the
this
answer
for
to that.
last, how many board meetings? Yeah,
This
this
is-
isn't the first time we've done this.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there hasn't been any red flags yet, but you're still gonna check with the attorney to
Mhm.
see. what's-
And if it needs to be public, we'll make sure that the documents are available and open.
But you feel confident that didn't need to be done before any vote was taken?
You know, I have not specifically asked that
Concerning
question.
an expenditure, because that makes me a little nervous.
I get it.
How much lead time do you need to order these, to have them ready for the school year?
We're not, these won't be ready for the school year, and we're not in a crunch that we have to have them to get the school year started. These are boosting what we have, and what'd you say, there was a 30-day wait, 50-day wait on them already?
They're coming straight from the boat, and so it could be anywhere
We-
from 30 to 50 days.
50 days.
Once
So
they're-
we already know that they're not going to be into the start of the school year. But the moment we get them, we were planning to phase them in as we get them. They're not critical to get us started. We can still get up and get started.
I mean, I remember this was a discussion topic last couple, we were out around, I've been on the board, it's been like this.
Shared in this manner. Mary? Okay.
I would make a motion to table it till the August 2nd meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We can have discussion.
Is there gonna be enough time to get the information?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would actually have it by tomorrow.
All right, I'll second.
Any discussion? And Tom, your motion was what again? Could you?
To table these purchases till the August 2nd meeting.
We're gonna put on the agenda with the board member meeting.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's private.
Yeah, we'll have it, definitely have it by then. Terry, are the bid's still good?
I hope so.
Let's just check.
Do they have a
Those
date?
off-lease ones are, they're in the air. I mean, anybody
Okay.
could buy them.
Okay.
Hopefully they're still available.
If you'll just call and let the vendors know where we're at. And,
Yep.
that'd be
I mean, that's not
second-
too far away.
and that it's not the question of the pricing, it's the question of the.
Yep.
I think once you get approval, Jerry can do what he needs to do from there.
Okay.
Is there an advantage to us getting these bids by ourselves versus combining ourselves with a bigger school district that makes these purchases regularly?
One of the bids in there was actually from a consortium, the ILTPP one, the, what was it, the HPG6s, were a statewide buying group. So they had the best price for that device out of all three.
I'm ready to move forward with technology, I guess after putting it aside for a little while and letting everything calm down. But I'm wondering if we as a board are to the point where, or if we want to function this way, that I'm thinking, if we're gonna spend $120,000 on technology, does it come with any outcomes, objectives, promise, and I don't want to use the word promises, but do we know what the final outcome of this purchase? Is there any way to rationalize it and
No, I know what
look
you're
at
saying.
what our deficiencies are in a curriculum and specifically pinpoint these? Board, we'd like you to spend this money, and this is our rationale, that we really feel strongly
So-
that this area or this curriculum or this age group or this subject could greatly be enhanced by that.
So let me start with first. This is what best practice tells us goes along. Align the curriculum. Make sure the teachers know what they're teaching. Give the teachers the skills to teach the curriculum. Make sure you got the resources to support them with what they're teaching. I can't guarantee the kid is going to test better. I don't control that. So if I give a teacher new resources, I give them professional development, and I give them some extra technology, and our scores go up 5%, which I hope they do, I don't know how to isolate one variable without saying, this class gets computers, this class doesn't get computers, you know, and then even then, teaching between two teachers is so different. So it's hard to, I know what you're saying. We want those scores to go up. That's the idea behind all this, is that the technology and the devices in the kids' hands are supposed to move students and student achievement. How to guarantee you that computers gave you a 4% return or a 2%? I don't know how to isolate that.
Will these devices work to help make it more efficient when we have to do the testing like?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know there was, you know,
Poplar Grove
there were
takes
cows
the,
moving all over the place.
Poplar Grove takes the entire month to get through all their testing because of,
And
basically
these
they have
devices
one
will
lab,
help them-
and one classroom set of devices that they keep rotating with.
I just wish I was in a business where I could sell technology with zero expectations of any outcomes at the other side of it. I mean, I can't get away with that. I don't know why we would go down that path without setting a pretty high bar about what we expect to have happen if we're gonna jump in bed with that. We need a return on investment goal on these kinds of purchases moving forward.
Ed might have just stated what I was saying a little bit more directly.
No, I know what you're saying. I heard exactly what you're saying, yeah.
And I'm wondering, sort of seeing this as a Venn diagram, if our curriculum and like bubbles and connecting the curriculum is a pretty big technology purchase, something we do before curriculum alignment. Do we look into how this fits into testing and what best fits into testing, which I trust maybe, Jerry, you've already done. And my long-range hope is that we'll have some sort of in-house data management system that we won't keep having to rely on PARC and all these other testings that sometimes delay results for a year, that we would in-house with a learning management system, or whatever it's
Yeah.
called, curriculum management system. Are we moving in that direction, and do we
Yes.
see this
Certainly,
fitting
yeah.
together?
Personalized learning and instant outcomes from all the tests and quizzes within the 7th and 8th grade.
And then
upper
common
wants
formative
to
assessments.
More that way. You know, high school's slowly edging that way, and just, we need devices for the kids to actually do that type of education. So we're kind of behind at this point, compared to all the schools that surround us. And so I really want to get as many of those devices in those kids' hands so they can have that type of education like everyone, all those surrounding districts.
And it will lead towards having some sort of common data collection that we can pretty handily extract data and look across the curriculum and up the curriculum at how numbers, what we're showing.
I think so.
And then if you
Maybe
move
if-
towards common formative assessments with the curriculum guides and everything else, that's the big piece we've got to continue to add. That's the in-house stuff.
Ed, is there anything in particular you're looking for, you're hoping for? You think as somebody who sells this sort of thing that we should be?
Well, my
Demanding
customers
or
would say,
requesting.
what's my return on investment? Is it gonna be 12 months? Is it gonna be 18 months? If it goes beyond that, then it's not worth the purchase. So, I mean, for me, I think as a board, we need to decide if we're gonna go down this path. Somebody's gonna be held accountable for moving test scores in the right direction as we go down this path.
I guess my only thing with that, Ed, is I'm with you on improving test scores and things like that. But there's, at some point, when you integrate technology into something, whether you give your bookkeeper a computer to do it, or you give your salesman a way to track his contacts, my return is more on the person and the program that I put in place, and to some degree, this becomes a tool to do it. And so, I don't know how you break this out from where we were, a month or two ago approving the curriculum, or where we're gonna be in a year from now when you get the curriculum maps done. I see that there was a danger you could put the cart before the horse, and you got the technology out in front of the curriculum, but I don't see how you measure the return on this. If your administration comes back and says, this is what I need to fully implement what we talked about, it's like, to me, do you give your bookkeeper a ledger with pencil and paper, or do you give her a computer to do the job? I don't measure the return off of that second piece, and so I'm with you on it. If you've been around here long enough, you've been around to see maybe technology used in a way as the answer instead of as a tool for what the answer was, or as a way to supplement it. And so, to me, it's faith that we have the pieces in place this time, that technology is going to supplement it, and that's the way that I feel about it. I would be, and just as I know there's a motion on the board, I would be comfortable moving forward with this tonight. I'm assuming, Jerry, that you have the pieces in place, you've done the due diligence and the looking for it. I'm not concerned about the things not being available to the public, because when we get the answer, we can make that piece right. I have the information, and it's not going to materially change what our decisions are, so. But I really look at this as a tool. You take it to your planters at John Deere, you can do it with the GPS, or you can plant without. And maybe that's not a good example. You can get a return investment maybe on your productivity in the field, so maybe I'll take that piece, that one back,
I
but.
was gonna say, I think that you seriously underestimate what it is that we're doing for a living if you think that all we're doing is steering tractors today.
Yeah, bad example on that one, I'll stick with my other. But anyway, I would understand where it is tough to get a return on investment calculation on this particular thing, or to ask for that as a measure.
I can see that specifically to this, but maybe another dimension of that is maybe we can't ask specific outcomes from this, but would that 120,000 be better spent on some other aspect of the curriculum? And I guess that's where we just leave this up to our admin and our superintendent. That's a big chunk that
This
I don't-
isn't.
I don't see us getting promises, but I wonder if maybe math interventionists or reading specialists or something.
This is what emerges from
Okay.
those committee meetings too,
Okay.
is those dialogues, those talks.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not
That
me
might
just,
be good to know, maybe when it's
and
presented
maybe that
to
would
us.
be something where we bring in and we talk about how they envision using the technology to support what they're doing in the classroom at a curriculum meeting, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know how I specifically say technology made me go up 5%, unless I were to pick one class that has it, one class that doesn't. And I don't know that I want to stop one class from getting a technology benefit or having devices in their hands. I don't think that's fair either. I know what best practice says, is that it needs to support what you're doing within the classroom with what your teachers are teaching. It's not what drives the curriculum, it's what supports the curriculum. And I've listened to it at conference after conference and read about it conference after and professional documents. And
I believe that that's true, that as you look back on what we've been spending here in the last 10 years, we haven't seen an improvement on our test scores. They've been flat.
If there's no further discussion, does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? We have a motion on the table to postpone this until our next meeting, and a second. I believe this requires a roll call, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. We will see this again in a month.
August 2nd.
Yeah, next week.
Week. Oh,
Week and a half.
Okay. With, it'll have some sort of rationale or a little bit more explanation of what we're expecting for outcomes, at least. No promises.
Well, just for the-
I don't know how
That
I'm,
was just
I
if we're
think
gonna
it's
need
just
to.
for the legality.
the legality
we need
side
to
was what I
publish,
was going.
Purchase
I'll-
price.
I don't know that I can guarantee you that I can isolate a variable that says technology boosted this, and here's your return.
Moves us to item F, curriculum facilitator.
Yes, as I talked a little bit about the business at the business meeting, I am recommending to continue to work with Cheryl as a curriculum facilitator on our curriculum. Cheryl assisted Molly this year in a committee work with science and math. We would like to continue to have Cheryl facilitate the district math committee. The math committee will be implementing a new series in math. The middle school and the high school is continuing that process of adopting. We're continuing the process of adopting resources at K-5, as well as professional development K-12 in math development and strategies. And to align the standards, and then also to begin curriculum guides. And Cheryl would really be focused on the math side. Molly would take over on the science. She'd continue with science, finishing up the curriculum guides and common formative assessments with science. And then she would like to begin ELA this year, which has not been reviewed or revised since 2014. So as I put in there, I gave approximately 75 days, which is exactly similar to what we used this year. We would pull that budget out of professional development in Title I and I think it's Title II, right? For Cheryl, and cost not to exceed the $25,000 to have Cheryl just work as a curriculum facilitator for us.
So we have a recommendation to approve the hiring of Cheryl Giesky, part-time curriculum facilitator. Do we have a motion and a second?
Make a motion to approve the rehiring of Cheryl Giesky as curriculum facilitator.
No second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Maxie and Hazel Forrest. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we have roll call, please, Kelly?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxey?
Yes.
Mr. Moore? Mr. Tallman?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
That takes us,
I do not have an executive session tonight. We
Oh.
lifted those three just in case, but I don't have anything unless the board has something that they want to speak to in executive session, but all the business has been taken care of.
Okay. Anybody have any need to adjourn to executive session? Other information, FOIA and student activity, is there anything you plan on presenting for that?
Nope, you just get that report.
Okay,
Those reports are in your packet.
all right. That completes the meeting then. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Maxine Mulholland, all in favor? Oh,
Aye.
do we have to do that as a roll call?
Or you can just do voice.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.